Hi there, welcome to my latest edition of my 10-minute rant. And in this edition, I'm going to talk about the new brainwashing programme just launched by the SNP. And this new programme is a website, yes.scot. And what your SNP activists are to do, and not even SNP activists, independence activists in general, they have to go onto this website and utilise the resources that are there and convince people like me who are not interested in independence that we really should be independent. Now, Humza, he helped launch it, and he's encouraging people to go onto this site to get information, which quality of which I'll cover in a minute, and use that to talk to any dissenting voices that myself that they may come across, either social media or indeed in the real world. And the biggest part of this, there's loads of different resources there, but one of the biggest ones are these infograms, you know, these little like pictures with like graphs and information and bollocks, as the case in many of the ones on this website. And what the cybernats have to do is to get this information and go and pollute social media, etc. with it. So some of the stuff that's on it, it's just, you're like, what? What are you talking about? Now, one of the infograms is telling you that in the third poll in a row, it's shown that independence has a majority within the Scottish public. Third in a row. And the reality of that is, there's been 47 polls done in the year 2023. 47. Of which 7 have come out showing a slight majority for independence. So 40 have shown a majority for the status quo. Only 7 have shown any majority at all for independence. So this wee infogram's to get used. And it's quite bizarre because one of the infograms claims that there was as much as 56. I think the figures, I'll put them up on the screen once I'm editing this, but I'm sure the figures were 52, 54 and 56%, something like that. But there's this guy, and he'll come onto this video, I can't remember his name because there's about a gang of 2 or 3 of them that come onto every video messages and just write utter bollocks, right? And this one's just been coming on for a couple of weeks going 56%, want it 50, and I'm like, where is he getting this nonsense from? Well, I think that's now shown quite clearly where he's getting this evidence from. It's from this yes.scot website that all the cybernats have to go to and pollute the ether with nonsense. Another one which I looked at and I thought, I figure doesn't make sense, was the claim that the 10.1% inflation in the United Kingdom is the worst out of all the G7 nations. I thought, well, that ain't very good. 10.1% looks quite high because some of them were as low as 4% and 5%, and I think the Japanese were at 2.9% or something. So I thought, that looks a bit scary. And then you find out that out of the G7 nations, the UK hasn't got the worst inflation. It's actually got the second best inflation at 3.9%. Second only to Japan in the G7 nations. But the cybernats are out there with this wee infogram thing, polluting society, that the UK has got the worst inflation rate out of all the G7 countries. Total nonsense. There's a claim there that, by the way, your pension's going to be safe. Your pension's going to be safe if we get independence. Now, I had this discussion with a guy that seemed to be semi-sensible on the comments in one of the videos. And he's saying, but I've got this agreement, contract with the British government that I've been putting in for 20, 30 years, whatever he's worked, national insurance contributions, and they're due me that money. Well, I don't know anybody that's got their own personal agreement with the government, but how it actually works is your money, it's not a pension fund you're buying into. That's not the way it works. It's not, you've been getting it to the Prudential or whoever for 30 years and you're sticking this money away, and whenever you get, you retire, you get it back. That's not how the government pension scheme works at all, every single person who is paying NI just now is paying for the people that are already retired. Because in day one, when they started pensions, they didn't say, well, I'll tell you what, start putting into a pension today and we'll start paying it out in 20 years, so creating a pot. When the pension started, the national pension started, people get paid it right away and they get paid out the contributions of the people that were working. So you and I today are not putting into a pot for our own personal pension. It's not how it works. It's not a personal pension. And then we, call that money down once we retire. What we're all doing in society today that pay tax is we are contributing to the people that are retired. And likewise, they paid while they were working for the people before them who were retired and drew a state pension. And so there's this, there's this pile of money that we'll claim, and we will automatically, every single person living in Scotland will be drawing a state pension from the United Kingdom if they retire after independence. It's just simply not how it works. So for anybody to say that your UK state pension is 100% guaranteed to pay out on the advent of independence, total bunkum. And anybody that writes that either knowingly writes that it's nonsense, or are that thick they shouldn't be anywhere near any policy building or any resource development that these people are creating with this website. And if that's the way you think the government pensions work, you're living in cloud cuckoo land. The other one, which sounds strange, and this is just a sort of play on words. I suppose my defence of it's a play on words as well. Make laws, in Westminster, they make laws regardless of how Scottish MPs vote. Well, that's not true, because every Scottish MP at Westminster gets the exact same vote as any MP that's in England or Wales or Northern Ireland. So you get one vote. Now, roughly, the way that Westminster is, the makeup of Westminster, the Parliament is, roughly, you'll get a percent, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland and England will get a sort of percentage of how much population you have in total UK. So if somebody's got 50% of the population, they'll have roughly 50% of the MPs. That's how democracy works. Not the way democracy doesn't work in Scotland, where you've got guys, what's that ginger-headed boy, Greer? I think he got about 3 balloons and a trumpet at the last election and ends up in government. Because we've got this regional selection where some majority, to be fair, of our seats in the Scottish Parliament are made up by constituency voting, the same as we have in Westminster. However, there is other load of seats, I think it's about a third, I'll need to get the exact figures the next time I'm talking about it. And these aren't voted in on first past the post basis, you tick a box. These are on the second votes. So you get absolute mental situations where that boy Greer, who's crackers, right? I mean, if you're on Twitter, go and put in Greer, right? Writes the biggest lot of dribble that you'll see on social media. But this guy gets to have a say in the running of our country with about 800 to 1,500 votes. I can't remember. I looked at it a few months ago, and he was on the regional list. So he didn't get voted in as a constitutional MSP, a constituency MSP. He get voted in this regional list, which is for the half-wits that can't get voted in, right? And he gets to sit and, make all these, help make these decisions. So you could argue that those that are saying that Westminster's unfair because Scottish MPs don't get any say in lawmaking, which is total bollocks. You go to Holyrood and you could have a 10,000 majority of the votes in your constituency, whether you're SNP, Labour, Conservative, doesn't matter to me, but you could have that right. You could have that many people voting for you in the Scottish Parliament and be sat next to Ross Greer, who's had 2 men and a dog vote for him, and he gets the same vote as you. And I don't know if there's any Greens in Parliament who are now part of the government that got through in a normal constituency vote. That's unfair. Not the way we work in Westminster, where the country has almost give or take maybe the odd one or two, but a proportion of the population, from Scotland, from Wales, from Northern Ireland, from England, being voted into Westminster. No, you could have 800 votes, 1,000 votes, and actually, the way the Scottish Parliament works, you could be you could get a ministerial role on the strength of that. I mean, this crackpot Greer, he's actually got a proper government title. I can't remember, this spokesman for fucking unicorns and fucking, I don't know, Braveheart, whatever it is he is, but that's how bonkers our Parliament is, and we're putting infograms out telling you the way that Westminster works. Proper nonsense. Anyway, back to this site. Humza launched it saying he's delighted with the new Yes website, which is a host of resources for activists. Activists are now armed with the tools they need to speak to the people the length and breadth of the country. We're going to see it all over again. And this is cute because, yes, this is, parcelled up as a cry for independence stuff, but known fine well that within 12 months, probably a lot shorter, we're going to have a Westminster election. And within 2.5 years, we're going to have another run of Scottish Government elections. And if you want to look at the majority of polls, not the wee selected ones for the yes.scot website, you would probably put good money on the fact that the SNP would get less seats in both of these elections. So this sort of nonsense getting put out and spread the word of nonsense, right? Spread the wisdom of Yousaf. I don't believe it's just purely for independence. It's for these parasites to protect their own jobs. And, with these two elections coming up, hoping that'll persuade people to vote for SNP at either of the next two, the Westminster and the Holyrood elections. And I ain't falling for it. And they're telling us, what was it one? They're telling us on these infogram stuff decisions that are going to be made after independence. Can't do that. And I'll tell you why you can't do that. Who knows what the first Scottish Government, if they did get independence, there would then need to be a government elections. And who knows how that would be made up, because a lot of people, let's be perfectly honest about it, are only voting SNP for the sake of independence. There are no even many more SNP supporters than I am, but they tick the box every election just because they want independence, they watch Braveheart on loop, and they believe in unicorns. So on day 2 of independence, we get an election. We then people go, oh, right, well, I don't really like SNP, but I've voted them for the last 12 years. I'll now vote for who I want to run an independent country because it's got there. But the SNP website is telling you what the Scottish Government's going to do after independence. That's just total fabrication. One of those things that we will be joining the EU. Will you? Aye. Well, one, the Scottish Government would need to decide that they wanted to do that. They would then need to put that to a referendum to the people of Scotland if they wanted to join the EU. Then somehow you need to convince the EU to do it, and there's absolutely no mechanism in place right now that would allow an independent Scotland into the EU. So how can you put on this stuff, vote for independence because we're going to join the EU, when there's loads of gates to cross? And the hardest one, you might convince the Scottish people, you might convince Parliament first, then the Scottish people, but you've got to actually convince the EU. And as it stands just now, simple things like, what currency are you using? No, got it. I also seen one mention about NATO. We're going to join NATO to give us a defence because somebody asked, how we're going to defend our country in an independent Scotland. We're going to rely on the British Army. How will it work? We're going to join NATO. Yeah. You also tell everybody you're going to have no nuclear arms at all in an independent Scotland. How's that fit in with NATO's criteria? It's impossible. You can't have both. But let's make a wee infogram about that. One of the cracking ones. They're going to reform the energy market. and give us reliable, low-cost energy, and a photo of a wind turbine. Now, if you want to go back to my video, I can't remember what it called, it the Great Wind Turbine Scam or something, we've pawned our wind resources. We've pawned about 80-90% of them, and every single one to a foreign country. So it's no, we don't have a national wind turbine industry. All these wind turbine leases for the offshore ones have all been hawked to country. Some of them have actually been hawked to other countries' national energy companies. So they make the money. They'll dictate the price. And by the way, if the price doesn't suit them, they can't get the price in Britain. Do you think they're going to turn the things on? No. What they'll do is they'll take the subsidies that you've offered them. Because these companies get paid. If we can't take the energy that their wind farms produce into our national grid, we need to pay them a subsidy. Right? That's how it works. But we're going to have this low-cost energy where we don't dictate the price, and a photo of a wind turbine. The biggest con in contracts I've ever seen. 700 million quid we pawned them all for. Sell the leases for the offshore ones. Not one of them a British company, let alone a Scottish company. But we're going to have this cheap energy. It's better. Oh, this one's a cracker. This one they're using as an excuse to be independent, and it's mobile phones. Now, see, to be honest with you, see with the carry on that the health minister has caused recently, probably be better staying away from mobile phones, to be honest with you, SNP. It's not a good subject for you right now. But what they're saying is that we're getting conned because people are trying to threaten that if we're independent, it could mean back to roaming charges. So they're having a pop at the UK government, who they claim, I don't know if this is true or not, that in 2013 the UK government claimed that if independence was granted to Scotland, Scottish mobile users would occur roaming charges. And what they use in their defence to say this is a bad thing is, in 2021 they're saying that Vodafone are now charging British customers roaming charges in Europe. They're actually using their own argument against them here. Saying the Scottish, the Tories, the Tory government, it's no, you can't just say Westminster now, that's not negative enough. You've got to say the Tory Westminster government. The Tory Westminster government told us in 2013 that if we got independence, we would end up with roaming charges, and they're bad people for saying that. And then in the next bit in the infogram, show you that in 2021 it happened through Brexit, but it'll not happen through independent Scotland, only happen through an independent Europe. They're insane. They're absolutely insane. And as a football fan, one of the most idiotic infographics, that they've used is one of the worst football pundits in the Scottish football scene right now, a guy called Michael Stewart. Yeah, that Michael Stewart. Michael Stewart can't get fit by things right. But there's a wee infogram of him telling you Scotland will be great when we get independence. Will it? Well, I've got news for you, mate. See, if you ever do get independence, VAR come along, they'll tell you you get every single thing wrong because you are crackers. So this thing, the brainwashing programme is live. The brainwashing programme is on the go. And it's not just, don't let them fool you, it's just for independence. This is to try and protect the receipts at Westminster and the receipts at Holyrood, because that's all they actually care about. And the stuff I've looked at is total bollocks. So, have a wee look yourself. Honestly, go and have a look over your Christmas break when you're off your work and all that. Yes.Scott. Fantastic. Absolutely. And then what they'll be telling us is half the population have logged into this, so they must all be yes voters, right? Go and do it for a laugh. Get yourself in there. Have a look at the absolute skullduggery of these people. They're potty. And thanks for tuning in. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe and the notifications to get future videos. There'll be a wee video showing about here, which I recommend you watch if you're liking my videos. Most of all, have a great day. Bye now.